Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome to another Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the horror guru.
And I'm gonna fucking kill you.
And this is Final Girl Count Jackula, because we just saw a movie called The Final Girls, which is essentially a meta slasher movie, not really a deconstruction, more just self-aware, about a group of people who get trapped inside of an actual slasher movie that they're aware is a slasher movie, and they have to get out of the movie somehow.
Fuck kill you. Fucking movie's pretty good. Definitely one, the first, all right. Well, you know what? First of all, the movie's a lot better than we were afraid it might be.
When I saw the trailer, it reminded me of another self-aware slasher horror thing that came out a few years ago called Detention.
Oh, fucking Detention.
Which was just god-awful. It had a lot of really cool ideas and some cool visuals, but the movie itself was just atrociously annoying.
I remember we were going to do a video on that movie, and then we were just like, no, the movie is just too fucking insufferable.
It's annoying. It's obnoxious. It's not funny. It's got some cool visuals and ideas, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And the trailer for Final Girls was reminding me a lot of that, but with like a Glee sense of humor almost.
Yeah.
But after finally seeing the movie, the way I could describe it is that it's Detention if Detention worked.
yeah, this movie really works. It's very much like Last Action Hero for horror movies.
That's probably the best description you could give to this movie.
Yeah, and it actually works a little bit better than the Last Action Hero.
Yeah, most definitely, especially the emotional moments.
Oh yeah. Those are the highlights of the film, where it's about a girl who misses her dead mom, and her mom is an actress, and she's in the movie that she's stuck in. But so she gets stuck relating to her mother as the character in this movie rather than as her mother.
Absolutely. So her goal becomes, I got to make my mom survive this movie so that I can maybe take her out with me at some point.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of really just like heartstrung emotional moments between those two and her mom in the beginning before her mom dies.
Oh yeah.
Which I was not expecting given the trailer. The trailer just looked like nonstop, almost like as epic movie style, just like self-aware jokes.
It looked like this movie could have very easily been completely,
and it's not that at all. It was just it was my completely fucked up perception of what it maybe looked like.
Well, I mean, based on some other movies that had similar premises, like the movie could have been way too fucking smug. For
absolutely,
but luckily it wasn't.
And on top of that, it's legitimately funny.
Yeah, it is.
Like, there are many points where I was laughing out loud while watching it, and it does a great job, like, recreating, like, a really shitty, like, 80s horror movie.
Yeah.
Even though it itself is shot really gorgeously.
Yeah, it's shot really beautifully. It's very odd. Like, the way the movie opens up is it opens up like a Carpenter flick.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they actually use like the logo from The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
just straight up the same font and everything, and the same lighting effect. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. They do a good job. There is some 80s music. To make it
quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Like, especially stuff that people will remember.
Mickey so fine.
Mickey, Betty Davis Eyes.
Yes, Betty Davis Eyes. We also had Cherry Pie at one point.
Yes.
As well as a rendition of essentially like a knockoff of the Friday the 13th theme for the main theme of the slasher they're in, which is obviously supposed to be Friday the 13th #1, but with Jason as the killer. What was his name? Billy movie?
Billy, named after Billy from Black Christmas.
Absolutely.
So it's really weird because the movie is very obviously written by people who understand and like horror a lot.
Absolutely.
But the thing that's weird about the movie is that it doesn't feel like horror fans are really the intended audience.
It doesn't at all, because the oddest part about this is that this is essentially a meta 80s slasher throwback movie that takes out all the gore, like all the cool like beheadings and things like that, it doesn't really happen in this movie.
No,
and if it does, it happens off screen.
Yeah, there's very little gore. There's like blood splatter, and that's it.
Yeah,
and there's absolutely no nudity, despite the fact that nudity is a plot point in the movie.
Yeah, and it turns out it's PG-13, which is very odd for a movie like this.
Yeah, well, Last Action Hero has the same problem.
Yeah, another one where like Last Action Hero, where they go inside like essentially a knockoff of 80s action movies, which were all rated R, hard R movies, but the movie itself is PG-13.
Yeah, it's like you can't really parody Death Wish PG-13.
Oh, no.
Fucking
Lethal Weapon, like any of the Arnold movies, Commando, but you're going to do that PG-13? Bad idea. Really bad idea.
Yeah,
and in this case, they're Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, any of those, but PG-13ized, which is very odd because, like I said before, nudity is a plot point, and they shoot. Now, here's the thing: this doesn't feel like a movie that was cut down to PG-13. This looks like a movie that was shot with PG-13. That's what it felt like.
Yeah,
it felt like it. Like even some of the stabs, it's like, okay, well, they obviously filmed it at this distance so you wouldn't see too much.
Yeah,
and things like that. Which is because they could still have had the comedy and the whole premise and still like homage those 80s movies more. Like you could have had like a really cheesy effect of someone getting their head chopped off and there's like toothpicks left there.
Yeah. Like they done the gore, but it was like done like trauma levels of bad.
And for nudity, what they could have done is they could have like had someone like go to take their top off and it's like an obvious double or something like just to make like add an extra joke, but they avoided all that. But like nudity and blood are kind of the two essential ingredients of an 80s slasher, and they're the two things this is missing. But it's got everything else.
Yeah, it does. It has everything else. It has the same kind of plot twists.
Yeah.
It has the same kind of progression. One of the things that's really cool is that artifacts of movie, like title sequence, exist within the reality of the movie.
So they can actually crash in the titles.
Yeah. You have to actually like walk around the title sequences.
When flashbacks happen, the whole world goes liquid. Yeah. So it's like, woo, like it's really cool. They actually end up seeing black and white when they go in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Really cool, really funny jokes involving that stuff. And plus the mechanic of the flashbacks becomes important later when they figure out they can control it.
Yeah.
Just by starting a flashback, by starting to say something, it's like, oh my God, he's going to kill us. Go to a flashback. So
yeah. Somebody, like the rule is like the girl who starts the flashback that happens in the slasher movie actually has the power to start a flashback.
Yeah, at any moment, as long as she starts the opening words of a flashback.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea. There's a lot of cool ideas in this.
Yeah, there is.
And it's really funny. And I really love that they never actually explain how they end up in the movie.
Yeah. They literally, the theater catches on fire, they literally walk into the screen.
Yeah, and they end up in the movie, and they're like, how the fuck did we get here? And I'm sitting there like, I don't know, but I don't care. This is great.
Yeah. We don't even have like the golden ticket conceit.
No magic ticket, no like cursed theater. It is just left unexplained, and I kind of like it that way.
Yeah, me too.
The characters are all really likable. Even some of the ones you don't like at the beginning, they grow to be more likable as it goes on.
Yeah, they grow on you.
But
I definitely have to agree that like the kind of like Glee aesthetic, I feel, is kind of holding the movie back.
Just a little bit, yeah. It's a little too bright.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah, it's a little too bright, it's a little too cheery.
It looks beautiful, but at times I'm sitting there going like, I feel like I'm watching like it kind of, I felt like I was watching Wet Hot American Summer and not like an 80s slasher spoof at times.
Yeah.
Just because of the way like the film was shot. And
yeah, it's actually shot, for the most part, it's actually shot like a lot closer to like Meatballs.
Yeah.
When they're actually like in the movie, like it's shot a lot closer to Meatballs. One thing I did like was the fact that there were certain scenes that were massively overexposed.
Yes. Clear homages to some of the flaws of the 80s films.
Yeah.
But it was obviously shot digitally, so it didn't quite look the same.
Yeah, no.
Unless it was shot on 35 or something, but it looked like digital picture to me.
It looked like digital cinema to me.
And if I'm wrong, feel free to say. Maybe it was just digitally altered afterwards.
Hard to say.
Because a lot of those lens flares, some of them didn't look like they were there in the shot. They added them.
Yeah, you could tell that like a lot of this was shot that this is a very low budget film.
Oh, definitely.
Especially like in the beginning, there's a very obvious like scene that's just completely CG. You'll know it when you see it. It's in the first 5 minutes.
Oh god, yeah, that one threw me off it for a moment because I couldn't tell what was going on because it looked weird.
Well, it does this. The scene. It's a shot of people driving down the street. And one of the problems I have with that shot is it's a problem I have with 3D animation in general, which is because the camera is so controllable, you end up doing these camera moves that you're like, that is impossible in real life. It is impossible to do that. So if you do that in a CG scene, it looks double fake.
Mm.
You know, like, all right, so the scene is, they're driving and it's like a crane shot of a car, but there's no crane because it's a completely composited 3D shot. The car is 3D. And it's really, really obvious because as soon as the car comes into the proper moment of the frame, the camera perfectly starts following it. And that's kind of a problem because all of a sudden you're like, well, that's a CG shot right there. And it's very obvious because that's a CG camera.
Whatever that was, it definitely felt way too clean. It felt altered. And I felt like I was looking at Uncanny Valley for cars.
Oh, it was.
That was weird.
It totally was. Luckily, that didn't detract from the impact of what happens.
No, the emotional impact of that scene and how you grow to really like the mom and the daughter. Before things, you know what? Spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we already said, the mom dies.
Yeah, mom dies. She dies in a car accident.
It is I was surprised because you only get like maybe 5-6 minutes with her in that car.
Very
short amount of time. But within that time, by the time like she dies, I felt it.
Yeah,
like, I felt it while watching it. I'm like, oh man, god damn it! Like I knew something was gonna happen, but I didn't expect to open this movie so tragically.
Yeah.
Every scene where that like the impact of that death comes back, like you definitely feel over the course of the movie to the point where they almost feel like a completely detached movie from the rest of the goofy comedy going on.
Yeah, it does. Like, for a movie that did that turn perfectly, I think Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, in Shaun of the Dead, it's seamless. It feels like one cohesive movie when it goes from serious to funny to kind of sad and scary. Like it jumps all those seamlessly.
Once they actually get to like the bar and they have that whole scene with the mom, like that tone shift is very, very sudden, but it's super smooth.
Absolutely.
You know,
in this movie, it's not as smooth.
No,
like
no.
You're 1 minute.
I guess they're just not Edgar Wright.
Yeah, they're just not. But 1 minute you're like cutting to like goofy jock guy who is probably the most over the top actor in the entire fucking movie.
Oh my god, I actually really love that.
I love that guy. I love that guy.
Great.
But he is so over the top and he's so goofy and everything out of his mouth is basically sex. And then you immediately cut from that to like her seeing her mom for the first time. And like you have this touching moment. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting whiplash here.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. Like you go from like these like really goofy moments to like these really serious dramatic moments.
And the funny thing is, separately, the two scenes work perfectly in and of themselves, but you add them together and it feels like there's a weird dissonance. But that could just be me. It might not bother you guys out there.
Well, the thing is that the scenes work even though you got to go over this like fucking cinematic speed bump.
Yeah.
You know, once you get over that, you're like, oh, this scene totally works. Because,
most definitely.
You know, you really, oh God. Okay, so we mentioned before that the movie uses the song Betty Davis Eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the song that signifies the relationship between the mom and daughter.
God. When that song started playing, I'm like,
oh my God. Like at the climax, when that thing starts playing, you start tearing up.
Yeah, I'm like, oh
God damn it, movie, you got
I'm gonna be a man. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna break down now, but Jesus, I was so close.
Yeah. And the thing was, I found myself going like, if they had actually gone like full R in this movie, I feel like that I don't know if I would have been able to hold it back.
Oh, I agree. You
know,
because there's definitely a dulled edge as a result.
Yeah, and that's the real like tragedy. You know,
because I noticed as character, like the first death of the mom really hits you hard.
Oh God,
some of the deaths of the other characters don't hit you as hard just because they're not presented as harsh as they could.
No. Most of the deaths are even the tragic ones. Some of the deaths are tragic. Some of them are funny. But yeah, like the mean. Okay, so the movie has like the mean girl, and they do this kind of interesting thing with the mean girl, which is the mean girl. It's revealed that the mean girl used to be the main character's best friend until her mom died, and they reveal this like way into the third reel.
Yeah. That character's progression was probably one of my favorite progressions.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, it was really good. It was the one you could latch onto outside of the dog.
And that like that moment, like when she's gonna like sacrifice herself, and she like grabs the other girl's hand so that they'll go together, and it's just like this nice moment of unity. I'm like, oh my god, when the movie's doing stuff like that, it is fantastic.
It is like you're like, oh, like no, the mean girl's just upset. She's not. She just doesn't want people to hate her.
Absolutely. And that great self-aware moment where she realizes who she is in the movie. And
yeah. She's like, I'm the mean girl, and we're about to hit the third reel. I'm done for. Yeah. Like that actress pulled that scene off very well.
On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, I really liked the slutty chick. She was really
adorable.
Slutty chick
is amazing. It's so fucking adorable. That's the right word for it too.
Yeah. She's super adorable. She's super funny, and like they have this whole bit where like, no, you can't take off your clothes. If you do, you're gonna summon him.
Yeah.
And this becomes a plot point, by the way.
Yeah.
So they like duct tape all her like clothes together with like a big like life vest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she can't take her clothes off. And she's like,
she can't take her clothes off, but she's compelled to constantly try.
Yeah.
Because she's the slutty character. And that's her role.
And there's a lot of great jokes. Like, the dialogue's pretty bad in this movie. Yeah. The characters are a little one-dimensional. Yeah, but what's great is taking these one-dimensional characters and then adding dimension to them as you go along.
Yeah. I wish I know why they had to get rid of him kind of early, but like for lack of a better way of putting it, the movie does have a Randy.
It does.
The Randy is pretty good. Like he's the character that you like kind of as a horror fan you latch onto.
Oh, definitely.
But the thing that's a little sad is he gets taken out very quick because you can't have the guy who understands how everything works throughout the whole movie.
And that made me sad when he went so fast. I kind of got it because after a certain point, him just constantly explaining would probably have gotten a little tedious.
Yeah,
but couldn't he have gotten like a much harsher death? Like he does.
Yeah.
He comes back after his initial death and then has a second death. But I kept feeling like I wanted to see him get like the worst, like ripped in half.
Yeah, ripped in half with his intestines flying all over
because
the place.
He's the horror fan, so he's the one who's got to get it the worst,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Oh well.
The thing is it's a very simple movie. It's very efficient. It's very quick.
It's funny.
It's funny. It's worth watching.
It's touching.
It is. It hits all the notes that it is supposed to. It's one of those movies that I'm like, oh, you're just so close. You could have been an A+.
Yeah. For me, it's like it could have been it could have been a 10, but for me, it's like an 8 as a result of just missing these tiny ingredients that, as a horror fan, would have been appealing to me. But I'm not sure if I'm the audience they were shooting for.
Exactly. Like that's ultimately like the big problem because like as a horror fan, you're like, I feel like this is a movie I might have written for like 18-year-olds. And that's how it feels. Like it really does feel like a movie about horror movies written for like the Glee audience.
Yeah, for an audience completely disconnected.
Yeah, which I am absolutely not.
Even though it's referencing all those, it did feel like it was for an audience disconnected from it.
One of the things I thought was actually really fucking ironic about the disconnect between myself as a horror fan and the Glee audience is the fact that Scream is written by the guy who went on to make Glee.
No, Kevin Williamson didn't work on Glee. Glee was what's his name? Dude who did Nip Tuck and American Horror Story and
right. Sorry, I'm a little buzzed.
And Scream Queens. That
guy.
Ryan Murphy.
That's
his name. Kevin Williamson went on to do like Dawson's Creek and shit.
Oh man. I do not want to go back to that Scream television show.
I don't either. People have told me that it's better, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. I didn't like it.
Well, like, let me put it this way. Like, there's always a moment in a show when someone tells me about it. When I hear it, I'm like, I gotta fucking watch this damn thing. Like for True Blood, it was AIDS Burger.
Yeah.
The minute I saw AIDS Burger, I knew I had to watch it.
And True Blood's fucking great.
Yeah. But with the Scream television show, no one has told me the scene where it's like, oh my God, they do this, you gotta watch it. Like for Supernatural, funny thing is that the thing that makes you go, oh man, I gotta keep watching this happens at the end of the first season, which, if you're a Supernatural fan, you realize that thing ends with a car crash. And the thing that's great about, the reason I bring that up is because the car crash in this movie hits you the same way. Like, even if you know it's coming, it surprises you, which is what I always liked about that Supernatural car crash. And I was glad that they were able to capture that same magic for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's kind of rare. It's rare that you know something is coming, but it still fucking surprises you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, timed beautifully. I don't know. That CG shot was just kind of weak.
That was,
kind of weak sauce.
Yeah, something felt real off about that. So this is a movie that has its problems. I don't love it as much as some of the other movies I've seen this year, but it is a really solid flick. And if you're not as much of a super 80s gore fan than me, then it'll probably be more your speed, ironically, despite what it's, homaging.
Yeah.
So Final Girls. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, 1 thumb up. The butt.